It's the hottest day of the year here at Snetterton for the Milltek Sports Civic Cup. It's not raining, we've just got these umbrellas up because the sun is so strong. Andy McEwen, I'm Paul O'Neill. Andy McEwen, what is going on? Why are we here?
It's a very good question, Paul. We're here because we're about to see a really exciting championship decider in the Civic Cup. It's not the ideal conditions, it's not what they would have wanted, I'm sure. I'm already drowning, I haven't even left the assembly area yet, but hey, if you wanted a spicy championship decider, you've got it, haven't you?
I think so, mate, I think so. So let's recap. So we've got Campy, Alistair Camp, leading the championship from his teammate Matt Luff. Then we've got Morgan Bailey in third, and we've got Dan Thackeray in fourth. Two kind of outsiders in third and fourth, or are they?
Thackeray maybe, he's that little bit further back, but Morgan Bailey's right up there. He's only a handful of points behind Luff, like you said, and only just over 10 behind Alistair, and in this weather anything can happen, you know. If it was a dry, normal event, then I'd say, yeah, Camp and Luff, they should be able to keep them at bay, but you don't have to make much of a mistake in these conditions, and you're in the barriers, and that could be your weekend over. Hope that doesn't happen. It would be a shame to see it decided that way, but the pressure's on, that's for sure.
Who does it favour? Would you want to be leading this championship, or would you want to be coming from the back like third and fourth place?
That's a good question, actually, because you've got the pressure as the championship leader, and again, in these conditions, that pressure ramps up. It's easy to make a mistake, whereas those behind don't have as much to lose. They can go full attack, they can take some risks on setup maybe, go for some of those more risky manoeuvres. But I think I'd want the points. I'd want the points in the bank, because anything could happen today. We could end up getting races shortened because of the weather as well. You don't know how many points you're going to get, or if you're going to get blown away before the day finishes. So I'd want those points in the bank.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, mate. Matt Luff in the 72, just behind you. He's been a star, isn't he? He really has. Quite calm. Just looking at him in the car now, looks like he's just waiting for things to crack on. But this is his big chance for me. I know that he doesn't have massive budget. A lot of them don't have massive budget, but I think him in particular, there's a lot resting on this.
Well, he'll be getting deja vu because the final round for the Civics was here on the 200 circuit a year ago, and he was chasing Alistair Camp for the title. Now, he's closer this time, though. That's the thing. He almost did it last year, actually, even with a bigger deficit. He's, what, 9 points behind coming into these last two races, and he did about a 2-hour stint yesterday morning in wet conditions, not this wet, but on a wet track. He and Alistair did, actually. They both did. They should have a decent setup, and, yeah, Luffy's hungry for it. He's in the zone. Reasonably relaxed though whenever I've spoken to him, so I think he's in a good place.
Let's talk about production. The two lads fighting it out for that. Good friends, same team, cool characters.
They are, yeah. Alfie and Louis, they've been great fun all year, haven't they? They've had a fantastic battle in the production class, and Alfie, as long as he finishes the race today, the chin, he just needs to the end, but suddenly the job becomes a lot harder, and you forget how inexperienced those production guys are. You know, have they ever raced in conditions like these? Probably not. So this is a real voyage into the unknown for them. The pressure's on.
Yeah, and you know, for the viewers at home, there's a couple of things here. You probably can't see how wet it is, but what I would like you to do, if you could, that would be to point the camera down and let's show off a little puddle, because honestly it's bouncing. The track is even worse. I know from Snetterton racing here, when it's like this and there's water everywhere, it's hard work. These are not proper wet tyres. They race on these tyres dry or wet. So can we have a quick look? Don't know if you'll be able to see much. Maybe at the back here you can actually see they're grooved. I don't want to get too far down. You might not be able to see because of the light, but they are grooved. There's a bit of light on this rear one if it is a bit of a struggle, but honestly it's not a proper wet that maybe a touring car would use. So that's what they're going to be up against. The time attack cars that are on the same package are out there now, but this honestly there's going to be a lot of wheel spin and a lot of aquaplane. I remember actually Cadwell Park, the first round, I mean, didn't one of the races get cancelled? It was that wet.
Yeah, exactly. It's standing water that's the problem. You know, the tyres can handle a bit of moisture, and these are good tyres as well. They can handle a wet track, but around here especially there are a few places where the water really collects in the dips. Turn 1's notorious for it, the bomb hole as well, with that dip right on the apex. That's going to be the struggle, because you can have the best wet weather tyre in the world, but if the tyre's not in contact with the tarmac, there's nothing it can do. So that's the concern. I think they might have just red flagged actually the session that was out before us, because the track track conditions are getting a bit sketchy now.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know what, mate? On that note, I'll let you scoot. You crack on. So Andy's going to go over to the comms box very quickly. Look how he walks. He's so fast, giving the thumbs up to everyone. What an absolute hero. I love it when I'm on my own and I've got a chat and you look around and then people look at you and they go, don't speak to me, mate. Do you know who I'm going to speak to, though? Dave Hudson, who runs Motion Motorsport. Top lad is Dave. He runs Dan Thackeray. He's been very, very impressed with Dan. One of the things he's doing is checking the football scores by the looks of it. He's looking for. He's just getting TSL on to see where his man will be. Dan, I was going to interview you, but I'm going to speak to Dave first because he's so smart. I'll come to you in a minute, mate. Dave, I was just saying to the viewers at home, you've picked up Dan, and the car has been unbelievable, mate. And the problem we have as commentators, a lot of people move around, and we forget who's where and where they've been. He's been a star, and your setup on this car is amazing.
Yeah, he's obviously had a really strong year this year. The car sort of came to us over the winter, had a bit of a rebuild, went through it, made a few changes, got it where it needs to be, and then Dan's sort of done the rest. Budget's been a little bit tight for him this year, so we struggled to get as much testing in as we'd like, so we've gone into 3 or 4 of the rounds straight into qualifying. So to have done what he's done and still being with the shout at the championship at the end of the year by 18 points or whatever is really good. Obviously moving into next year, see how he gets on with we're getting some sponsorship packages over the winter if anyone's interested, yeah, hopefully try and win some races today and see where we end up. Impressive
though at Brands Hatch. I mean, he's really starting to knock on the door. I honestly didn't see him as a title contender, but like since he's come to you guys, he's there. And great win at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we won the first round of the year at Cadwell. We had a couple of wins throughout the season now with Brands as well. Like you say, it was really, really strong. We looked good yesterday in testing. Obviously, the weather's completely different, so the rain's a bit of a curveball today. So we'll see how we get on. But yeah, really, really impressed with him, mate. He's been so good since he came on board. Obviously, we do what we do with the car, but ultimately, it's the guy behind the wheel that gets the results. So yeah, really impressed with him.
Top work. I'll just have a quick word with him. I know you don't want to get the we don't want to get the car too wet, mate, 'cause it can steam up. But yeah, quickly, great weekend at Brands Hatch. Looking forward to giving it. Are you in the pound seats here? You're not leading the championships. You just go for it.
Yeah, exactly. There's a it's just up to me to have a bit of fun. I've got a very outside chance of it, which means I can just do the best I can. I need a lot of luck, but the rain just certainly adds a layer of unpredictability to it. I've driven this car very briefly in the wet, so I'm not sure how I'll fare, but hopefully we'll be there or thereabouts, and if I win, then that's all I can do, basically.
Talk me through what it will be like, because these are not proper wets on these cars. You race them in the dry and you race them in the wet, and there's complaining going on with, but they have got 6.2 million horsepower.
Yeah, these are essentially cut slicks. They've got a little bit of tread to get rid of some water, but they're pretty poor with standing water, which is not looking ideal with the weather now. They're okay in between conditions, so it's going to be a bit of an unknown. We'll see how they fare. Just try and stay away from all puddles, basically. Get them up to temperature and see where we are.
Top man. Good luck, Dan, and good luck, Dave. Absolutely amazing. Motion Motorsport and Dan Thackeray, spot on. Oh, sorry. Took Dan out. Sorry, I took Dave out, and you at home, sorry. Alistair Camp, the champ, is leading the championship. Bit steamy in there, mate. You a bit worried about this rain?
No worry, mate. I'm just watching that nice sunset, look over there, sunrise over there, look, coming in nicely.
Mate, I haven't even got time to look if it's sunny over there. I was testing the other day. It was greasy, dry, wet. What was the score?
Yeah, greasy in the morning, then we had a bit of dry in the afternoon. So it was a good mix, and we managed to get out early. I mean, did send it off in the first practice, but I found my limits and I know where they are now. So yeah, no, enjoyed it, and we seemed like we was mixing it with the boys, so that's always good to know.
Who's the main protagonist for this, mate? Is it your teammate or is it all the other three?
All of them, really. Just I know what I need to do, and that's it. Nothing stupid today. Just do what I need to do and hopefully bring it home.
Top man, bring it home. I hope you do. I'll let you crack on. I know the guys. Basically, if I was to get in a race car like this with water on my race suit, you'll end up steaming the cars up. And you can see from Alistair's car, they'll have rain-exed it and put anti-fog on. But you still do, where they've not done it, where he doesn't need to see out, you can actually see a lot of steam there. But that's not a problem. But look at the front, though. As he was showing off, nice, nice. It's all very nice. So you can see a lot steaming up from the other cars, but it's in the right places. Okay, let us have a word with Let's see if Matt will speak to us, because I'm not sure. I don't like jumping in on people sometimes. But let me see. Is he? You stop. All right, he's going. I'm gonna let him crack on. He doesn't want to speak. That's cool. That is cool. Tell you what I'm gonna do then. I am gonna put this brolly down because I'm northern, and I don't mind a bit of rain. How are you? You always look nervous. Yeah. Do you know what made me laugh? I said to everyone at home, I said, as soon as it looks like I'm on my own and have to talk to the camera, it's like everyone looks at me and goes, not me. How are things for you this year? You've had a good year, actually, haven't you?
I've had a really good year, yeah. Good result at Brands for Tom, and yeah, now we're going to run Rob and see what he does in this.
Tell me more about Bobby, because Bobby Butler is a proper peddler.
He is a good peddler, yeah. Just got to get his head in the right place, and he can, yeah, hopefully be up there.
Do you find that a lot with racing drivers in general? Because we all know we can drive, but there's sometimes people just drop off a bit, don't they, because they're not in the headspace. Is that one of the things you have to do?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. You need to keep their head in the right place and give them ultimately the best machine for the job, and if they're happy, then they can do what they can, really.
He can win today?
I think so, yeah. He's confident, so...
He's always confident, isn't he?
A bit too confident.
Do you know, I was just saying, he's always a bit too confident. What makes me laugh is he's giving us a wave there. I'm just going to give him a little knock. I think that said a lot before, actually, when Matt Luff just kind of didn't really want to talk. He's in the zone. This is his big chance to win the championship. Let's see if I can just quickly speak to Rob. A lot of the guys don't want to talk, because if they get wet inside the car, it's stopped raining to a point now, mate. It just steams the car up, doesn't it? It's a nightmare if you do get your race overalls wet.
I know, all you need is a proper mechanic that knows how to use the anti-fog and the Rain-X ball. And I've got good blowers in here, so hopefully we should be okay.
Last thing you need, though, is someone like me opening your window and breathing a load of hot air in the car, though. But I can see it. I can see your foot's moving around in there. People make me laugh because they say, "Oh, I'm not nervous." And if you're not nervous to race a car, you don't care, do you?
Look, if you said that every time you're on the start line, I think everybody would be lying, and you know that yourself from the amount of years you've been racing. It never changes. It's once them lights go out, I think the nerves go away because you forget about it. But I think, getting ready to go for quali, it's going to be a very, very difficult session. It's very, very wet on these cut slicks, so God knows what's going to happen. So I think that's my little bit of nerves today. If it was dry, I'd probably be a little bit less agitated, but we've been sitting here quite a while now, so hopefully we can get out soon and get going round.
Top man, Rob, I'll leave you to it, mate. Thanks for letting us speak, because honestly, the last thing you want to do is speak to me when it's raining like this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to come with me. I'm going to go and speak to some of the marshals, see what's happening, if anyone's been told what's going on. Sorry, boys. Dave, has anything been said about the timings?
No, there's mentioned on the group earlier that there was a red flag, so they were
okay. Right. Okay, you won't have heard any of that, but there has been a red flag, and that is why we're kind of studying. It looks like they've opened the gate, so I'm going to ask one of our marshal friends what's going on, because that's the kind of stuff we do. Interesting to see Morgan Bailey right at the front. Guys, do you know what time we might start?
No.
Good, because no one else does either. Oh, there's a bit of radio chatter, so I'm just listening in. And let's listen.
Excellent.
Any time, we're just waiting for this, make sure the circuit's clear.
Perfect. Right, sorry for that silence. We're just waiting for the circuit to clear. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for that. Oh, yes! Look at that! That's amazing!
You all right?
Yep, mate, look at his umbrella.
Wait, mine, it's yours.
Is it yours? Why are you wearing it?
It's made me.
Mate, can I wear that for the rest of the day?
Yeah.
Let me just have a quick go with that. Hang on. This is what happens when you have a stoppage. Thank you. Can you put it on for me?
Put your bubble hat on. Put your bubble hat on so your head don't get wet.
Do you reckon? Okay, one sec. Right, let's put this on.
Let me hold your body.
Thank you very much. This is so cool. It's like the best day of my life. My head's massive in it.
Yeah.
No, come here.
Is this the best TV you've ever seen? How's that?
Sexy.
I'm going to have to look in like a window or something for this. Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Right. How cool is that? Oh my word. This is like, forget your Milltek Sports Civic Cup qualifying. This is, actually, if anyone's just tuned in, they're like, who's your man with the umbrella? It's like that Legal and General advert. I'm going to quickly talk to Morgan Bailey. Morgan, I know you guys don't want to, sorry about the hat, by the way. I know you guys don't want to open the windows and you keep the heat in and all that kind of stuff. Just been asking the other guys, how hard's this going to be? Because you ain't got proper wets on, have you?
We're on a controlled tyre. Aquaplaning gets a bit bad on these, but
We'll see how we get on. Being first on the road is an advantage.
Listen, let you go, mate. Starting P1, hopefully it's P1 for you. Morgan Bailey is gone and he is out. Andy, and the umbrella and me, it's back to you.
For voice and data solutions at speeds that are simply out of this world, choose Maximum Networks.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to a soggy Snetterton and the final round of the Milltek Sports Civic Cup Championship. Cars making their way out onto the circuit now, indeed just starting their first flying laps around what is a very, very wet Snetterton 200 circuit. A 15-minute qualifying session here that will set the grid for our first of two races here later on in the afternoon that will decide the outcome of both the Cup and production classes in this very hotly contested championship. Andy McEwen up here in the commentary box. Anthony Jordan joining me for this qualifying session. Anthony, I can't help but feel that I drew the short straw here because I've just had to wander all the way down to assembly, back from assembly, stood there for 20 odd minutes getting soaked with Paul O'Neill, and you look remarkably dry.
I'm not going to argue the fact. Yeah, it's lovely and toasty warm up in this commentary box, I have to say. Yeah, it's raining cats and dogs out there, isn't it? I mean, you look at the weather here. It was dry this morning. It was a bit of a greasy track, and then just the rain came out of nowhere. But I will say, off in the distance, there's a nice sunrise appearing. The clouds are clear. I've got to say, I'm going to be quintessentially British here and say, I think it's brightening up, Andy.
I actually agree with you as well. I can't quite believe I'm saying this. It was supposed to rain very heavily around midday. Now, what I'm hoping is that was the heavy rain and it just got here a little bit earlier, because beyond that, it was supposed to be actually quite pleasant. So fingers crossed that the track will start to improve. It is not really raining particularly heavily now, which means, Anthony, that this will be an interesting qualifying session because the quickest lap times are not going to be the ones they're setting now. They'll be the ones they're setting in another 10.5 minutes time. Yeah, definitely so. I mean, of course, as the track dries out, like Paul was saying there, they're not on standard wet tyres, they're on the controlled tyres, of course, so they're just grooved. So clearing the water may be a bit of a challenge for these cars, but I suspect as the more laps that they put in, yeah, definitely the times should start coming out. I mean, we've got the first sort of times coming in. Representative, you've got 142s, I should say, from the most of the drivers are straight off the track there, and this is what we were going to be concerned about, aquaplaning. And that is Max Edmondson, I'm afraid, who had a bit of a shunt last time at Brands Hatch as well, and he has found the barriers pretty significantly down at Rich's Corner. Been a popular place to have an accident today. Adam Shepherd was off there in the TCR practice session earlier on, and now the number 33 Honda Civic is in the barriers. Lots of damage done to the driver's side of that car, but he sort of rattled down the Armco first and then made contact with the tyre wall itself. That's a real shame for Max, who hasn't really been able to catch a lucky break all season long, and his qualifying session at Snetterton continuing that theme. Now, he's out of the car, which is the main thing, so he appears to be okay, but that car is in a dangerous position, Anthony. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see a red flag, and this is the flip side to the point I just made about how the quick tyres were going to come later on.
Yeah. It's
important to get a banker lap in, because you don't know if this will be a red flag, and indeed if it will be the only one. This could be a truncated session. You need to get a time on the board.
Yeah, definitely so, because if they do stop it, yeah, it's going to be, if they do cancel the rest of the session, if they do stop it, of course, obviously big time delays, of course, already today with several stoppages that we've already had. So, you know, like you say, yeah, they've definitely got to get a banker lap in straight away. But looking at the track conditions there, it doesn't look too bad as they go out onto the main straight. But, you know, looks can be deceiving. It can be buried deep in the tarmac and flick up when you least expect it. But yeah, like I say, no red flags at the moment. They're just sticking with the yellows, and I've got to say, Marshall straight on it, not afraid to jump out on track straight away to the driver's aid. But yeah, again, it's very, very tricky conditions for all these drivers out there.
It is indeed. Yellow flags out of Richie's. That car is right in the firing line, so I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen a red flag, but for the time being, the session continues, and it is car number 1, Alistair Camp, that has gone fastest with a 141.131, and that is 0.115 quicker than Rob Butler, the Irishman, second, and Matt Luff in third position. As Paul was talking us through in the assembly area earlier on, we've got 4 drivers mathematically in contention for the title, all of them covered by just 19 points, with 25 points available for a race week, 2 races today, plus a bonus point in each for the fastest lap. So those 4 drivers all very much in contention. It's Alistair Camp who leads on dropped scores. He has got a 9-point advantage over Matt Luff, who is 2 points ahead of Morgan Bailey, who is 8 further ahead of Dan Thackeray. Well, of those contenders, at the moment, Camp on pole, Luff third, Thackeray fourth, and surprisingly, Jordan, given his recent form, it's Morgan Bailey who is down in 6th.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Morgan Bailey, he's one of the drivers that, you know, you were thinking he has got the opportunity to do this. Like I say, the 2 teammates who are going to be working together potentially in the first few moments of this qualifying, you know, really at the moment have been struggling. So, you know, I think there's going to be a good change. It's going to be a shake-up. We'll have to see what happens in the races, because, of course, qualifying can tell a story, but you find out what's going to happen in the races, and of course it is going to be a tough one, especially in the production class as well.
Yes, where we could see a championship decided in race 1, because Alfie Jenkins arrives here at Snetterton with a good cushion over Louis Hounsell. It is 27 points, I think. There will be 26 points available after race 1, so Hounsell has to outscore Alfie. It's quite simple though. If Alfie is ahead of Louis in race 1, Alfie's champion. If Louis is ahead, then it will go down to the last race, at least mathematically. And also worth mentioning, I mentioned drop scores a moment ago, you cannot drop either of the races here at Snetterton. So if you have a non-finish, Anthony, that could be your championship dub.
Yeah, definitely. You never want a non-race finish, of course, but in these conditions it's very highly likely to happen, so drivers are going to have to be super careful with that one. But like you say, it's going to be a good shake-up for all these drivers as they go through. I mean, Buki's back. We just saw him on camera a second ago. Like I say, he'll have taken about 10 years to sort his hair out before he got into the car. So hopefully it's all good under that helmet.
But fake tan will be with it as well.
No, exactly. You know, being a team boss, you know, you've got to make sure you've got your orange tan. You've got to have the tan lines, slick back hair, whitest teeth in the world, and all of that. But he's been working hard on all that, he has. But yeah, I think out there in qualifying, he's doing a good job. Where is he at the moment, Buki? He is
9th at the moment.
9th, yeah. So that's not too bad for him, you know.
Yeah, but settling himself in, I'm sure. He's been out of the car all season. He's the busiest man in motorsport, Dave Buki. There was a time when he was running about half the cars on the grid, it seemed, and he was extremely stressed every time I spoke to him, and you always kind of got the sense he was itching to get back behind the wheel. So really nice to have him back out there. He will get quicker, I'm sure, as the session goes on. Louis Hounsell there, just coming towards us on the screen into the Wilson hairpin. He is currently your pole sitter in the production class, so he's doing what he needs to right now to keep his championship hopes alive. He's out-qualified Alfie Jenkins. You score points within your class, so where they are in the overall ranking doesn't particularly matter. It's where they are relative to each other. And you've also got the third entrant, Mark Hughes, number 495, the Kinetic Motorsport driver, also running within the production class. So they've got a bit more opposition this time than they've had of late. Matt Luff goes to the top of the times, and that's significant because he's now 26 thousandths of a second, Anthony, quicker than his big championship rival.
Yeah, that's a crucial one, of course, as they're going through. Like we're saying predictions for this one. You know, I'm thinking Luff. We're all really thinking Luff, but you don't want to take that away from Camp because Camp's a quick driver. He really is, and he's shown that in qualifying. Like you say, 200ths between them, or 2 thousandths between them. So you know, it's so close in qualifying, and like I say, it's going to get quicker. It's going to get quicker because the track looks like, to be honest, it's not changed. It's it's still pretty wet out there.
Absolutely, and Camp can't rely on just following Luff home in both races, because actually, if Luff were to win both races with the fastest lap, then 2 second places would give Luff the championship by 1 point. So Camp has to try and beat Luff. If they're running 1 and 2, he really has to be trying to beat his Area Motorsport teammate, and it looks at the moment like they would be starting on the front row. However, Rob Butler has just done a purple first sector, so Rob Butler going faster than anybody through the first part of the lap, and the Irishman, who sits 5th now on the times, is about to come through and set what could be a new pole position time. We'll wait for that silver number 74 car to get to the line and see exactly what he can do, but he's absolutely flying. He's gone purple in sector 1, purple in the speed trap in sector 1 too, so that suggests he's got a bit of a toe out there. Slightly concerningly, he's not with us yet. Here he comes through Coram Corner now, towards the end of the lap, Anthony.
So no toe there, he's on his own. He negotiates the final corner, and again, nice wide entry into there, and just trying to pick up that late apex, get on the power as soon as possible. Of course, the front wheel drive in these, got to be so careful that you don't just lock the front. As Camp's in the gravel. Where's that? Is that turn 1?
And he's almost collected Edmondson's car. This is exactly what I was concerned about. The championship leader then is in the gravel at turn 1 as Dan Thackeray goes to pole position by 9 thousandths of a second. Butler's time was good enough for third, so Camp is in the gravel. He's going no further in the session, and he's been demoted to 4th on the grid. One of the Pro Alloys cars is sideways. That's Will Redford, and he's heading for the curve at Murray's. Thankfully hits it backwards.
Yeah, that's so lucky.
Wow, that was close. Redford will continue, but drama for Camp.
Red flag's come out.
Yes, it has indeed. So, understandably, because we've now got 2 cars in the firing line at Riches. Thankfully, Camp's car came to a halt before it collected Edmondson's machine. But that's a disaster. Alistair Camp, who doesn't make mistakes, it shows how tricky it is out there, Anthony.
Yeah, it really does. There he is. And you can just see by his body language there, not happy with that. I mean, you got to think, what could it have been? Did he just get a wheel on the grass? Was it just a lock-up? Trying to push that car just a little bit further through turn 1, because turn 1 you can gain so much time through there. It's such a fast corner, but you know, I think just a little bit too early on in the session. I mean, we still had about 4 minutes to go in the session, so you would have got a couple more laps out there. But you got to think the pressure on these drivers, especially at the front end for the championship, is high.
Yes, absolutely, and that pressure showing even for Alistair Camp, who, I said, doesn't make many mistakes. You also don't see body language like that very often from Alistair. He is normally a pretty cool customer, but you could sense the frustration in his body as he trudged through the gravel trap. The car, thankfully, is undamaged, though, it would seem, so that once they get the gravel cleared out of it, he should be good to go in the race later on, but we'll be starting no better than 4th, because even if we do restart the session, he won't be able to take further part in it. So, to confirm then, because there was a lot happening there just before the red flag came out, it is provisionally number 29, Dan Thackeray, outside bet for the championship, remember, who's just gone and stuck it on provisional pole position by 9 thousandths over Matt Luff, second in the championship. Third place, the interloper, number 74, Rob Butler, here just as a one-off drive. He's not done the full season, but we know he's a proven race winner, and he starts third with Alistair Camp in the gravel, and 4th on the grid for car number 1. Harvey Caton, 5th, by the way, the youngster coming towards the conclusion of his first season in this championship. He is on the 3rd row right now, alongside number 26, Morgan Bailey, who does seem to be struggling a little more in the wet conditions. We're seeing on the screen now those provisional qualifying results. Jack Harding, number 43, is 7th. Number 42, Will Redford, who had that big spin at the final corner just as the red flags came out. He would line up 8th as it stands, ahead of 9th position, number 40, Bradley Lane, and Dave Buki on his return would line up 10th on the grid. Quite a spread of times there, but that really is just because of the very challenging conditions. Jordan Brennan, who had that monster shunt at Alton Park earlier in the season, he would line up 11th. Max Edmondson, who had that fairly sizable shunt earlier on in the qualifying session, is 12th, ahead of, in 13th, Louis Hounsell, the provisional production pole sitter. try saying that quickly. 13th fastest overall, ahead of number 71, one of the other Pro Alloys racing cars of Adam Preble. Then it's Owen Hillman 15th, 16th at the moment for Alfie Jenkins, but they would, I believe, split the field, so they would start the production cars behind the Cup cars, so he would start on the front row of that grid essentially alongside Louis Hounsell, with in 17th fastest number 25 Adam Kruger, 18th number 19 Jeff Alden, and 19th and last for number 495 Mark Hughes. And I can now tweet what I just said, Anthony. That is no longer a provisional grid. It looks like that will be the grid, the session not being restarted.
Yeah, cars pulling in now. They'll head to scrutineering. Of course, will be checked over. But you've got to think for Alistair Camper in that one, is that... You say it's a chink in the armoury, maybe. Is that really, what is he going to be feeling now going into the race? Because turn one, obviously, the first corner you're going to see, and he's made a mistake there. Is that going to play in his mind going into the races?
It's so easy to do, though. The one thing that Rob Baker, the boss at Area Motorsport, was saying to all of his drivers before that session, don't forget to wind your brake bias back, because in the wet it's so easy to lock the front axle. Yeah. Alistair did that yesterday in practice and went off the road, so he's done this before. Now, I'm assuming this deep into the session that it wasn't the brake bias. He would have already sorted that, I'm sure. But there's quite a lot of standing water. The entry to Riches is among the wettest bits of the track, I would say, and if you slightly go off the line, you find a puddle, you hit the brakes, you're going to snatch a brake really easily, and from that point, front-wheel drive car, Anthony, there's no saving it.
Yeah, and the rain drains to that sort of side of the track as well, because there's a gully on the outside of the track that collects all the rainwater, and of course all the water running down from the hairpin coming down in through turn one. Yeah, it can be pretty treacherous, I'd say, for a lot of the drivers. But like you say, yeah, now two cars off in that gravel trap. I think definitely red flag in the session, probably the right call to make. But just thinks going into the racing later, it's going to be interesting going into turn one.
We couldn't have scripted a better qualifying session or a result, really, could we? But Thackeray, who needs to be winning races, on pole. Luff, who I think has the pace to beat Alistair Camp, and he's starting a couple of places ahead of him. Camp's now on the back foot, and as for Morgan Bailey, I wouldn't write him out either. He's a really good racer. I would say a better racer than qualifier as well, so I think he can move forward from there. Plus, if it doesn't rain again, and I'm beginning to lean towards that possibility, Anthony.
It's looking all right.
It's looking better than it was 20 minutes ago, I'll give you that much. If it doesn't rain again, it could be a dry-ish circuit, and that will maybe give Morgan a better chance to move forward. So we have got a tantalising final couple of races on our hands here.
We do, and looking at that picture there, that looks to me like rain has actually stopped out there, so the track's just going to get drier and drier as the day goes on. So fingers crossed it stays like that. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. These races are going to be absolutely amazing going into them. Championship battles, wet conditions, changeable conditions. Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Yes, I agree with that for sure. It's going to be a fascinating couple of races, the first of those races, due to kick off at 12:20. Now, we are a little bit behind time, I think, about 20-odd minutes or so behind time, so we may be a little bit late, but be sure to join us at some point later on this afternoon for the penultimate round of the Milltek Sport Civic Cup.